Good evening, friends. We are presenting Manthan, which is a Bharat Satsang presentation, and this is the Chirag. Can you just slide the mm, pane from somewhere else because the screen is getting obstructed?
No, I actually can't control that.
You can't control that anyway. Okay, so this is our prayer, which I would read out for you. Sangashaktir Vijetriyam Kritva Asmad Dharma Rakshanam Paramam Vaibhavam Praptam Samarthastu Tavashisha. With your blessings, O Lord, let this triumphant sung strength attain the supreme glory by protecting the principles of righteousness. That's the prayer with which we've been starting all the Bharat Satsang meetings, and we continue to uh, have that. And the objective of this platform, creating a platform for meaningful discussions wherein we will be taking topics of Bharat centric importance. Not that we would be excluding global impact or globally impacting activities of Bharat, but the essential focus of all discussion would be Bharat centric. And most of the times we would be getting experienced subject matter experts in a particular subject which is of interest for the development and vikas of Bharat. We insist that sensibility prevail over sensationalism, and that is one of the primary objectives. Actually, when I talked to Chirag in Mumbai, we felt that there is too much of noise, too much of cacophony, which is actually making people go mad, and their sense of rational thinking and evaluation is disappearing. So, we need to actually introduce a platform where people discuss with sensibility, come to sensible, logical conclusions, and then uh, move ahead from there. And we want it to become the most trusted discussion panel. And for that, our pursuit would be to have the best of the speakers, the best of the hosts, and I would expect all my friends to come forward, suggest the topics as well as experts, and do the networking with such experts so that we can get them here and hear them deliver the most important inputs that the country needs. And we need a structured engagement among the panelists. Nobody talks over somebody else. Nobody tries to steal more time. So we would be moderating it from that point of view. Initially, there may be some overlap, but I think eventually we would be able to give a very structured engagement. Methodology would be 9 p.m. live streaming for 1 hour generally. It could at times be two sessions of half an hour each. Initially, we would be starting with a weekly frequency, and the frequency will grow as we grow. The features would be multi panelist discussions or exclusive interviews of important personalities and feedback based calibration of the sessions. That would be the methodology that we would follow. Today's program is a review of 2017 and a preview of 2018, hosted by Chirag Desai and myself. And the panelists are, I would request the panelists to just raise his hand so that people can recognize. Colonel Rakesh, Dr. Jagdish Hiramat, Mrs. Rita Gupta, Mr. Kamesh Gadia, and Mr. Bala. So then, friends, I hand over to Chirag, who will be taking us through the rest of the program. I would be available at times for some interjections, but not as the major speaker. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dada, and appreciate your presentation and giving us quite a good overview of everything. So as you mentioned, today's session is meant to be sort of a quick review of 2017 from your perspective, from your industry, and then also look at maybe a little bit of what 2018 might hold. So I'm going to run through all the panelists. I would ask each one if you can please just quickly introduce yourself. So that the viewers have an idea of a little bit more about you. Okay, so I'm going to start with Colonel Rakeshji. You have the floor. Tell us about how you felt about 2017.
I'm Colonel Rakesh Sharma. I'm on Twitter. My handle is DesertFox61I, and I am always following nation first. Rest everything is secondary for me. Everything has to be nation first. Thank you.
Colonel Saab, tell us a bit about how you felt 2017 went from your perspective.
I would discuss this under two heads. One is from the national security and related to the foreign policy. And the second is related again to security, but from the social justice point of view. The first point is that two major episodes defined India's national security approach and the impact on foreign policy. The first was the strike. The surgical no more. We will strike you where we want to, and we will hurt you where we want to. The message was very clear and unambiguous. We also pushed back the nuclear overhang of Pakistan. This had a carry-on effect when we confronted China at Doklam. There also, we conveyed to China and the world three important things. Number one, we have the spine to stare up and
Okay, I think I'm going to come back to Colonel Saab. I'm having some issues with his audio at the moment. Okay, if I can ask you if you can hear me, please join back in because I'm having some problems with your audio. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to ask Rita ji to come in, please. Why don't you tell us more about how you felt 2017 went?
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम रीता गुप्ता है और मेरा फर्स्ट प्रोफेशन जो था वो ऑल इंडिया रेडियो पे प्रोग्राम प्रेजेंटर का था. उसके बाद थोड़ा टाइम टीच भी किया, बट आफ्टर मैरिज आई लेफ्ट माय जॉब एंड नाउ for last few years or maybe you can say since 2014 I am active on social media and I am a blogger too. That was my brief introduction.
Rita ji, can you tell us how you felt or what would be your maybe one or two takes from 2017?
2017 we can't see in isolation because I think 2017 was a mirror of last 3.5 years, and whatever political scene India has seen, that was historical and very, very eventful. Though there were lots of issues in 2014, some have been addressed and some are still there. So that is how I think 2017 has been challenging, but not that satisfying.
Would you like to share with us maybe one thing that you felt was addressed and one that wasn't?
There were lots of issues, corruption, development, financial scams, and mobilizing Hindus. That was, I think, was a very big issue. And before 2014, I felt Hindus were scattered and directionless, nervous and scared. Uh, they came together for 2014 elections, and the results are in front of us. Uh, on that note, I think that was satisfying. But now I feel that now that they are little bit united, we need more things to mobilize them and take that forward. That is what I am looking for in 2018.
Okay, thank you very much. Sakeshji, can you hear us? If your audio is back, then I would love for you to continue, please. Yeah, great.
Okay, so I was on Doklam. Doklam had the third impact of Doklam was that we sent a message to the entire world that we can stand up and we can be counted. As a result of which, the India, US, Australia, and Japan Quad came into being. Informal consultations have happened, and the entire paradigm of international relations is now undergoing a change. Uh, the we have now come up. We have to now counter. Looking forward into 2018, Pakistan will remain an irritant, but it will be embroiled in its internal affairs because their National Assembly elections are due. And the National Assembly elections, basically now the security establishment is trying to prop up its own proxies. It is going to be, I hope, Imran Khan versus the rest. But there are a lot of other turmoil issues there. The major thing that we achieved was we managed to isolate Pakistan effectively in the neighborhood and in the world. The SAARC summit was not held there. We have, by utilizing Jabbar port, Pakistan, the dollars per year, wheat milling costs. The Jabbar port also gives us an access to Central Asian republics. So much so that now China has started talking of Gwadar and Chabar as twin ports. They want to connect the two. That's a reality that we'll have to deal with in 2018 and coming times. Another move that India took was the BIMSTEC movement, that is Bay of Bengal initiative. Basically, it would help India counter the debt diplomacy that China is following in our backyard. And it's a manifestation of a look east policy. As time goes, China will try and needle us here and there, but they don't have much economic hold, because if they try anything economic, it will hurt them more than us. We are one of their largest trading partners, with the balance of trade in their favor. So that is how I look at 2017 and 18 from the national security point of view. Related to what looking at the Triple Talaq Bill in a different perspective. The Triple Talaq Bill has manifested the acceptance and supremacy of constitution over religion. It has separated religious practices from civil practices. It is a gender issue. It is an issue of gender justice. And that is what needs now to be taken forward. And here I would like to say that we have to dispel the notion that India is a secular state. India is not a secular state. Secularism was a concept that evolved in Europe, basically to keep the church out of meddling in the affairs of the nobility and the monarchies. India is a pluralist society. The difference between the two is that in a pluralist society, there is mutual respect and reciprocity. You respect my faith, I respect your faith. That is critical. And that we coexist together. We don't, exist at the cost of the other. The important thing here is that I am an Indian first. Hindu, I'm an Indian Sikh, Tamil, I'm an Indian Marwadi, anything. I'm an Indian first. That is something that this Triple Talaq Bill I see as the first step in that direction, making India, one society. That is what I see 2018. Thank you.
Okay, I think Dr. Jagdish, you please tell us what you feel about the year passed by, and then we will take the second iteration of how 2018 would look like.
Uh, Good evening, everybody. Chirag, looks like you have muted yourself. Okay. Uh, it's been a very eventful year in medical field. We started the year just like a continuity of the previous 2016 with not much of activity being seen. Then, somewhere around mid year, we saw a flurry of activity happening in public healthcare policy. We had the release of National Healthcare Policy 2017 after a gap of nearly 14 years. The previous two national healthcare policies have been in 1983 and in 2002. 2002 and 2017 policies, both of them are released by BJP government for, for everybody's information. Uh, there has been a big change in the approach. The idea is to go for accessible healthcare, available healthcare, and also affordable healthcare. These are the three main aims at which the aim as the effect of this 2017 national health policy. That's what I see in future. I see a lot of aims or goals which were unachieved. In 2015, we had Millennium Development Goals which were not met. So we have now UNDP Sustainable Development Goals, which I hope Government of India will work hard to meet. That is regarding the national healthcare policy. The problem I see in this policy is that it's biased towards curative nature and it's more towards aimed at illness or sickness. It is not aimed more towards wellness of the people of this country. So when it comes to wellness of the citizens, there has to be wellness, everything inclusive of all aspects, including healthcare or well-being of or disease-free state. So we leave the disease-free state apart. We need to be spiritually well off. We need to be mentally well off. We need to be economically well off. All these things are not actually completely addressed by this National Healthcare Policy 2017. It falls short by almost, I would say, 50% of what Sir Joseph Boris committee had recommended in 1946. So we had a very good committee recommendations in 1946. Had our country followed that, probably by now we would have been one of the best healthcare systems in the world. But unfortunately, we have a lot of uneventful things happening in between, and now we have a government which is working towards it, and hopefully, we win again in 2019. Probably by 2024 we'll reach somewhere. That's what I feel. Apart from this,
Thank
this
you.
is
Thank you, Dr. Sabha. I'll come back to you next. I actually want to raise some of that with you when we hit the next segment. Balaji, welcome to the first Manthan, and if you can just quickly introduce yourself and give us your overview.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm honored to be part of this esteemed panel. Actually, my perception is being out of the system. I'm in the US for the past 20 years. I'm as the name indicates, I'm Balaji Venkatraman. You can call me Bala. And my perceptions are purely based off friends and family back home, and the social media, my WhatsApp group, and so it's purely my perception. And I'm sure you guys are far more aware of it being in the system than me being away out of the system. So I got curious in politics much more than I was after Modi came to power. So because I felt that he sort of raised the hopes that India can do something, and it's not in the deep. I mean, it's there was a revival of it rekindled our hopes basically, especially as a NRA. So my topics which I curiously watch are in education research, development, basically the power, the financial, and how friendly the market is for investments, NRI investments, job creation. So my takeaways in 2017, one is the GST. GST, of course, is I think an excellent move. It sort of helped in removing the bottlenecks between states where the trucks had huge delays in movements, and it got a uniformity in the tax structure across states. That translates to ease of doing business as an investor. Transformation of small and medium business units from being tax evasive to being tax compliant. That is increasing revenues for the government. So GST was a huge step. We can debate on how it was implemented, which should again be translate to challenges in 2018. We can come to that later. But in the power sector, I think we did a great job. For the first time in 70 years, we are 100% sufficiency in power. I don't know if it is something to be proud of or to be ashamed of, but yes, finally we are there. And a massive allocation for improving transmission efficiency. This is something which we lacked for a long time. And I think Modi invested about 10,000 crores to do this, which is a step in the right direction. For the first time, the Northeast corridor is getting 100% power. It was a very highly neglected corridor, and that's a big step. And another big step would be the big boost in the renewable energy. We went from 7% of total power to being renewable to 13.2% in just 2017. And that is an excellent step to reduce our carbon footprint. Energy generation went up. Wind energy generation in India went up by 28% in just 2017. That is a very good step. We can be proud of that. Of course, there are other challenges, but we'll come to that in 2018 when we discuss 2018. And in the financial sector, I think demonetization was a right step in the right direction. There could have been a better execution of it, but I think it was a needed move. More trust in the digital economy. I think that is key to reduce corruption, improve transparency. So the more digital we go, I think it would help in that direction. And I think that happened to some extent with the demonetization. Massive increase in online transactions that translates to us moving towards the digital economy. Increase in number of tax filings, that is a wider tax net, that is increase in revenues. And linking Aadhaar card to high value transactions is extremely important step. I think every country has a primary key. We have social security in this country. I think India does need Aadhaar card, something to how to bring accountability in the financial sector. And our forex reserves went up by to $403 billion. It's a very healthy sign. It translates to confidence in the Indian market. I view it as a big positive to be surplus. And jobs creation. Our investment in defense and
sorry, Balaji, your time is up. So, but we'll come to the job creation bit, especially I think in 2018, because I think it's going to be one of the big challenges. Thanks very much, Kameshji. You have the floor. I think it's time we heard from a lawyer.
Yeah. Good evening, friends and senior panelists. I feel very proud and humble feeling to be allowed to take part as a panel member here. I would try my best to come up to the mark. Please excuse me for any mistakes or hiccups that I would surely do. please be prepared for that. And in the like, I would start a review of the year 2017 with my own personal uh, achievement as a not as a personal achievement but as a achievement of the government under NDA. That was the conviction of 1993 blast and the successful hanging of the criminal Yakub Menon, and it was a very satisfying feeling that nobody is above law, come what may. That was been hanging, and then the right of privacy passed by Supreme Court, but still holding on to the issue of allowing the Aadhaar card, which was very mandatory to the sense of influx of Bangladeshis and other even Rohingyas. I would also like to flash the flurry of rail accidents that were occurring in the period under Suresh Prabhu, and which was, I would say, as a commoner, it's all felt like it was all created to see the government in poor light. So, but that was addressed finally by change of hands to Piyush Goyal ji, which was somewhat satisfying to the common mass. Then I would also give my pot shot also to some consumer satisfaction in the field of communication by our none other than Reliance Jio, giving a nice bouquet. Like my house bill, telephone bills went down by 1/5, and we are spending right now 1,000 instead of 5,000, 6,000 that we were spending. So it's a welcome move by anybody, but right under NDA. So it's a cheer for all of the Indians, commoners. Then we come to, I would also take the liberty of adding the changes in 2017 to also demonetization that occurred though in November, but I would like to bring that effect also come over here in this year. It happened in 2016 November. So allow me that people, though were unsatisfied, but a commoner was very satisfied that the money, the black money stashed by the rich people were come out finally, and they were the honest person would also feel happy as a like I have met many honest people and I have tried to get a sense of what their feelings were, and they all, not one person seemed unhappy about the demonetization, though they have personal issues to address due to this change. But overall, they were happy. And then also, I was happy political power change in the Northeast, which was traditionally a house home for the Congress people. It was a welcome change in the hands of the NDA government. We saw a lot of political drama in the Northeast, but all were finally proving in the favor of NDA, which was a welcome move. And as we see, Modi ji very much concerned about the Northeast. So it was heartening to see the political change in favor of Modi ji. Now, also, I was happy with the development in UP. The last moment suspense, who would be the CM, was really a pleasant surprise to see Yogi Adityanath holding on to the baton. Also, the economy side, I won't delve into the details, but all these points I have made only seeing the panel members discussing overall scenario. I was initially stuck to my own field, but having seen you members giving a wide variety, I struggled to come up with all the general issues. So the economic part, I would sum up by saying the Moody's upgrading of India and also another credit rating agencies giving Modi's efforts a thumbs up, and over a long period of time, India has got an upgrading. So it's a heartening, though the opposition has been saying belittling the India's achievement, but these are the highlights that I would say. This happened in 2017, which came into my eyes. And that's it. Over to Chiragji.
Chirag, you are mute.
Extremely sorry, guys. I was trying to take the noise out of the discussion.
Yeah, no.
Actually, in fact, so what I said was, from what I hear from everybody, it sounds like 2017 was quite a positive year. I know some of you, I think, cheated a little bit by starting to talk about 2016 also, but that's okay. This is the first one, so that's fine. Dada, would you like to give us a quick your quick take on 2017 before we move on?
Okay. When I thought that there was a possibility that I may be required to give my inputs also, I was trying to look at the whole year from a different perspective, not from India, but how the global events that affected India or were affected because of India. Now, that's a very interesting observation which I came out with, and I am going to tell you about certain events which happened across the world, uh, nothing to do with India directly, but then India invariably getting impacted by it, or India having indirectly impacted it. So, the first event that I can remember is the swearing in of Donald Trump on 20th January of 2017. I think that's a very, very important event which happened. And there is a repercussion of that on India, on Indians, and, and we are yet to discover the entire impact of it. Then on March 10th, United Nations announced that 20 million people are at the risk of starvation in the countries like Yemen, South Sudan, Somalia, and Nigeria. At a time when India growing at a brisk pace and coming out to be one of the most fastest growing economy, to have such a large mass of people on the brink of starvation definitely looks forward to some uh, activity from the Indian government towards rescuing these people. And I'm sure 2018 is going to see that. On May 12th, there was a very, very surprising incident, and that was computers around the world were hit by a large scale ransomware. Now, what was and the number of countries affected were 150. This is not a small number. But what was surprising about that attack, there have been ransomware attacks before and there have been ransomware attacks after. But what was specifically surprising about this particular attack was that the ransom was asked in bitcoins. Now, uh, Bitcoin activity suddenly has started revolving around all these areas, and India has suddenly become a center of activity for Bitcoins, which is an alarming issue, which is an unregulated issue. And I am not sure that the regulatory authorities in India are totally capable of handling the challenges that it throws to us. Uh, Another thing that happened on June 1st was US withdrew the Paris Climate Agreement. Now, this apparently was a very small news. Uh, Most of the people may not have paid any attention to it, but this is a major decision which is going to impact geopolitics of the world. On September 1, Putin expelled 755 diplomats. And you know why? It was in response to the US sanctions against Russia. Now, this is where the importance of statesmanly leadership of our country, which has been able to maintain a proper balanced relationship with both sides, that counts. So this was a very important development, which I think we need to take with much greater seriousness and must actually give the proper credit to the government for having handled it well. On September 15th, a very strange thing happened. I think I have not seen any Indian news agency having reported it. Cassini Huygens was on a 13-year mission to land in Saturn, the planet Saturn, and after 13 years, it successfully landed. In fact, it successfully plunged into the atmosphere of the planet, which is the first time ever in the world. Now, this is a breakthrough. This is something that most of the scientists had never expected that it will be possible to break the atmosphere of Saturn and get in there and get some data from there. October 1st was a very unfortunate date when when a person called Stephen Paddock, he killed 58 people and injured 546 people by opening fire in Las Vegas. Now, this is something which you may say that how is it concerned? How am I concerned about it? But then the fact is that the terror which has been plaguing India for the last 2 decades or 3 decades has now finally reached the center of arms supply. So this is something very, very important. I think Cornell would agree with that. Then on October 14th, the biggest blast of the year happened in Mogadishu, Somalia, where 512 people were killed. 512 people killed in a blast, while the injured were only 316. So what it means is that in a crowd of 850 people, more than 50% died. More people died than got injured. And this kind of blast cannot be orchestrated by normal terrorists. This is definitely a state sponsored terrorism. On October 27th, the only country to be born in this particular year, Catalonia, declared its independence from Spain. Now, Catalonia, as in its own capacity, may not be a very important country for India as of today, but I'm sure that the existence and the independence and its progress would be impacting and would be impacted by India also. On December 5th, Russia was banned from 2018 Winter Olympics. Now, this news I had not seen before. This I discovered today, that on 5th December, Russia was banned from participating in 2018 Winter Olympics because of what? Because of state-sponsored doping. Now, that's the big news. So, and then finally on December 6th, uh, US gave the most surprising announcement, and it was giving recognition to Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. I mean, that is, I think, somewhat summarizes what happened in the world in 2017, which has a bearing on India, and India has a bearing on the events. Over
Thank
to
you
you.
so much. That was a very, very detailed breakdown. I really appreciate it. So we're going to move now to our next segment, which sort of touches base on the one we just did, which is a quick look into 2018. And I want to touch on different points that people touched on as well. So I want to start with Balaji now, following up on some of the stuff you talked about regarding power and what Dada just brought up regarding the Paris Agreement as well. What do you feel about? So one of the things that the government has declared already is that by the end of 2018, not only will every village that was unelectrified back in 2014 be electrified, but also most, if not all, of the households as well will have finished, will be electrified by the end of or somewhere early 2019. So give us quickly your take on this as well, and perhaps how do you see the implications of the Paris Agreement that Dada touched on as well? Because India has stood by and reacted to America pulling out by saying that they were staying put and they intended to hit every target.
Yeah, hi Chirag. Thank you. Yes, the villages being electrified to 100% is something commendable. I think what Modi needs to do next is to create a surplus and sort of increase the ratio of renewable energy to the conventional energy ratio. I think that will be very key in reducing our carbon footprint. And going forward, we'll also be investing in hopefully investing in vehicles which are more electric and reduces the carbon emission standards. I mean, so I think that would be key for the next 2018 coming, where we invest a lot more in renewable energy, and reducing the carbon footprint would be key. And regarding the Paris withdrawal, I think that is unfortunate. US shouldn't have done that. I think India should pursue reducing its carbon footprint, and that would be key. And it also translates to a lot of job creation, and that is my take on the power thingy.
Any other things you would like to add regarding 2018?
Yeah, 2018, I think in terms of execution of demonetization, I felt there were some drawbacks, like where we all know the bank managers helped in the crooks getting away with huge sums of money. I would like Modi's government to track all these managers, bring some accountability in, recover the money, and also the black money. We have this issue of black money being invested outside, which is not yet realized. So that would be one key factor to infuse confidence in the NRAs that there is some accountability in the country. That would be key. I think there are two major things in the financial sector: the black money and bringing accountability and transparency. That I think is very important in 2018 to be addressed.
Thank you very much, Balaji. Coming to you now, Colonel Saab, I know you want to touch on 2018. Just a couple of points here. I wanted to also ask you, what do you feel about the fact that we've got the ASEAN leaders coming down, in the first month of January as well? I think multiple people have talked about India's sort of act east and look east policy. So maybe touch on that as well, including your other takes on 2018.
Before I get on to the ASEAN leaders coming to India, just a couple of points about what Bala was saying. We are actually now seeing a paradigm shift on how we are looking at economic development in the country. And that one of the key factors of that is energy consumption per individual. A very strange correlation, though they have tried, China has tried to explain it away. While India's energy consumption per individual is rising, China's is going down. They have passed it away, saying that they are reducing their dependence on biofuels, on the oil fuels, and going in for the non-conventional fuels. But it doesn't match up. The figures don't match up. So that is the energy aspect. Even today, though technically we are electricity surplus, but states are being penalized for not using or not having the desired percentage of non-conventional energy, that is either from waste or from biomass or from other renewable sources. Now, coming back to the point on foreign policy. Foreign policy for long was held hostage to an ideology. The ideology is first and the have to be neglected by our leaders because they were more ideologically aligned towards the West. Uh, our engagement with the Southeast Asian countries now is improved. We are exploring oil in South China Sea. We have exercises, a Malabar series of exercises with Japan, US, and India. Now Australia is trying to join in. We have been the backyard, and the economic linkages are now improving. We are going to have a road which it will be possible for us to drive down from India to the easternmost corner of Vietnam. Uh, all these linkages will result in economic benefits, and these can only happen if those countries know, number one, again I come back to my point that India will stand by its friends. India will cooperate on equal basis, and our foreign policy will be just. So when you put all of this together, you have a very robust and a sound foreign policy, shorn of all ideologies. Thank you.
Chirag, you are again on mute.
Thank you very much, Colonel Saab. I'm coming to you now, Rita ji. I know you touched on your 2018 take in the first segment as well, but tell us a little bit more about where you see perhaps maybe the start of 2018 going.
Thank you, Chirag.
And what are areas to focus on?
एक पॉइंट जो आई थिंक किसी भी पैनलिस्ट ने बहुत ज़्यादा टच नहीं किया, दैट वाज ऑफ करप्शन. मुझे लगता है कि वी हैव अ वेरी वेरी ऑनेस्ट गवर्नमेंट and till now there has not been a single scam. So on corruption issue we are very positive, but I think ऊपर के लेवल से करप्शन चला गया है, नीचे के लेवल पे करप्शन अभी भी बचा हुआ है, और उस करप्शन को दूर करने के लिए काफ़ी स्टेप्स गवर्नमेंट को लेने चाहिए. एंड 2018 इज़ द ओनली टाइम लेफ्ट नाउ. और खुद करप्ट ना होना एक बहुत अच्छी बात है, बट आई थिंक दैट इज़ नॉट एनफ. जो दूसरे करप्शन पहले हो चुके हैं उसके लिए कुछ अगर होगा तो बहुत अच्छा होगा. अगर उनको कुछ पनिशमेंट मिलती है या सज़ा मिलती है तो उससे गवर्नमेंट की क्रेडिबिलिटी जो है वो बहुत बढ़ जाएगी. एंड सेकेंड थिंग इज़, देखिए जीएसटी डिमोनेटाइजेशन ये सब अच्छी चीज़ें हैं, बहुत अच्छा हो रहा है, लेकिन फूड इन्फ्लेशन जो है वो मुझे लगता है कि उतना कम नहीं हुआ जितना होना चाहिए था. गरीब की प्लेट में खाना आएगा तो वो ही एक उसके लिए सबसे बड़ी चीज़ है. बड़े बड़े इकोनॉमिक टर्म्स और उनको समझ में नहीं आते हैं. एम्प्लॉयमेंट एंड खाना, ये दो चीज़ें हैं जो मुझे लगता है कि जिस पे बहुत काम करने की अभी ज़रूरत है 2018 में. एंड अगेन I'll come to that Hindu mobilization. And if you remember, in 2014, Modi ji had a rally in Ayodhya, and it was a very controversial rally also because there was a big portrait of Lord Rama in the background, and then he had these slogans of Jai Shri Ram and all that. So Ayodhya is a symbol of our Hindu identity, but I would like to see that it is no more a symbol, it is the Hindu identity. So on that front also, and RTE and 370, article 370, if goes, that would be very good. But I think I'm being very optimistic about it. But we can only be optimistic and see dreams, and I think people who see dreams only get to fulfill them. So that is what I think about 2018, and I'm very very hopeful because I think 2018 is going to be very short, because politics will dominate, because 2019 is coming. So, so, so for work, I think very less time is left. So that is what I think about 2018.
Thank you very much, Rita ji. Appreciate that. Kameshi, I'm coming to you now. I want to touch on, obviously want your take on 2018. I know that India has done some work in 2017, especially on things like intellectual property rights and how it pertains to, the ease of doing business. So do touch on that if you can. But before that, Rita ji raised an interesting point as well regarding corruption. I know Balaji talked about the black money angle and all of this stuff. Some of this, though, is also related to the judiciary, right? I mean, it's perhaps a topic that will take a long time to go through, but some of it is related to the judiciary. So maybe give us your take on that as well. How do we ensure, that justice is brought not just to perhaps corruption, but even at a general scale, when it comes to any kind of offenses, actually. I seem to be having some issue with Kamesh audio. I'm trying to work on it. Hold on. Okay, sorry guys, I don't know why I'm having some issue with this audio, so I'm gonna move to Dr. Jagdish ji, if you don't mind, please. Maybe touch on a little bit more about, your thoughts on preventive care. I think some reports that, perhaps would love to discuss with you in the future as well about, Mission Indradhanush and this kind of stuff. So I know you touched on that. Perhaps tell us what you feel 2018 will hold.
Yeah. I was just getting warmed up that time. Anyhow, it's fine. Everybody needs to get their opportunity to give their views. Um, I would like to raise two more issues in 2017. One is it was a watershed moment for healthcare because this is the time where I am feeling, after coming back and starting my practice in India, that the trust between patients and doctors is broken. The number of media trials that are happening on a regular basis makes the people feel that the doctors are out there to get them and get their money, which is wrong. Okay. The second issue, what I am seeing, probably as a result of this, we are having a lot of states coming forward with medical practitioner acts, which are very biased against practitioners. I am going to think. I think we are all going to see the fallouts of all these things in 2018. More importantly, Government of India has come up with bridge course where Ayurvedic practitioners, homeopaths can clear this particular bridge exam and practice as allopaths, which I feel is not going to do any good to the health of the country. As a, I would rather suggest that government come up with standard operating procedures and treatment regimes and allow the nursing personnel and the other paramedical staff, like in the US, to fill in for the gaps which are there in healthcare, rather than try to bring in Ayurvedic and homeopaths who learn a totally different stream of medicine than what we learn. This is my take for 2018. I am also expecting some, good things from Modi in the field of entitlements. I am expecting that we are a $2.3 trillion economy now. They should raise the expenditure on healthcare, and they should make, government of India should declare health as a right. It should not no more be what we seek or what people of India should seek. I am expecting that they will declare it as a right at least when the election starts or the electioneering starts. And universal health care should become a reality. The reach of the health care to all the people should be free, and it should, and as citizens of India, they should be entitled to proper health care. Um, our economy can sustain it now. I hope they take the right decisions. That's all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab. So we're running a bit short on time. I'm going to just ask Dada to come in for maybe a quick minute and give us his take on 2018. But before we call it, we've come to the end of our episode. Dada, over to you.
Yeah, I would only pray that the government faces the facts and acts. That's 2018 for me.
You're saying a lot by saying almost by giving us very little, unfortunately. So I wanna thank each of our panelists. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I think Amirji's has been disconnected, so we'd love to have his take on it. But thank you very much, everybody. It was a pleasure having you on board, and I really look forward to having you guys back with us soon on different topics as we start to do this more frequently. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chirag.
Thank you, Chirag. Good night. Jai Hind.
Good night.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
And thank you, everybody. Jai Hind.